Welcome to At the Movies podcast with Rich Dothridge. I get all that squared away and correct. Rich is the owner of the Warehouse Cinemas in Frederick, Maryland. And we are joined by our other co-host, Melissa Boudreau, who we all know and love. The goal of our podcast really is there's so much talk about the movies, but we're all from Exhibition. And so we really want to talk about why exhibition is so important to us, why movie theaters are important, and really start to share that exhibitor story, not just the movie story. So tell us a little bit about how you got into becoming an exhibitor, and then we'll get into a few other of your roles with the ICA and things like that.
Sure. Yeah, we actually started in the marketing space in 2005. We started a company called High Rock. So about 5 years into the business, our local 10-screen cinema was just it was just a tired location. It was being operated, I think, poorly, and we saw a vision for it. And so we approached the owners. The lease was up from the previous operator, and we jumped into this space of cinema. So as marketers, so we ran that for 10 years before we sold it, and then we also did a little one screen outside of the region, just in the southern part of Pennsylvania. And then more recently, we are getting ready to launch Warehouse Cinemas, which is our first under that brand, which is a 10 screen in Frederick, Maryland.
So what was the original theater that you guys took over?
Leitersburg Cinemas is what it was called. It's about 6 miles outside of town. It's in the middle of a cornfield. Our neighbors are soybean and corn, and
Great neighbors.
Yeah, and it was a former drive-in back in the day, early 50s, and then it was a twin up until the early 90s, and it became a 10 screen. So, and that's based in Hagerstown, Maryland, which is in the western part of Maryland.
Gotcha. So give us the Warehouse Cinemas is a dine-in concept, and tell us a little bit about your vision and what's so unique about Warehouse. What makes that uniquely yours and different from just running down to the big box?
Yeah, so as a marketing agency, we think a lot about branding and about what the product looks like, but also just the experiences that we offer day in and day out and what that brand feels like. So from a dine-in perspective, we knew we wanted to have some version of food and beverage. However, we were trying to find the right balance between doing the in-theater ordering and delivery versus having you order from the concession stand. So we've settled on what we think is a sweet spot, which is basically you order all your food at the concession stand, you pick it up as a fast casual model. We have silent notification system that you take with you if your food's not ready, or you can wait for it there. And so you basically take your food. It's 100% recliners, 100% tray tables, fixed. So it's our vision is to be. We love the Alamo Draft House. We love their brand. We love all the stuff that they're doing, and some of the others. Obviously, they're out there doing that, but we like the low labor model associated with fast casual. And we've also owned a restaurant in the past, and we know the pain of restaurants generally. So we're trying to avoid that and have the movie really be the showcase. To be honest, because we had no frame of reference starting our cinema, we actually model ourselves after breweries and wineries, and then there's movies that they watch at the same time. So like all of our decor at Warehouse Cinemas, all of our entrances to every auditorium is a sea container, right? So like there are sea container doors that we fabricated on the front that you don't necessarily open the door itself, but it's this it's an experience. The lobby's the same way. The bar is built out of a 20-foot sea container as well. We have 28 taps of beer that are all self-serve. So I guess the model that we're going for is unique, I guess, in that regard. So I don't know if there's a lot of cinemas that we necessarily model it after. We're just trying to create an experience of a great presentation, picture and sound, with a unique, flavorful menu and lots of drinks and things like that, in addition to events that we'll create on our own.
The self-serve beer thing's kind of catching on. So I've seen a lot of people who've wanted to try it, but not quite had the guts to pull it off. So pretty ballsy on your end.
Yeah. How does that work? Like you buy a cup and then do you just get to refill it like a freestyle?
Yeah, so you basically, when you get ID'd at the bar, they'll give you a card. You put a certain amount of money on the card, and then every tap has a little slot that you put your card into, and it limits your ounces also to 32 ounces on the first go around. And then it recognizes who you are, how much money's on your card, and then you can actually taste each beer and you pay per ounce. So you basically move your card down the line for the 28 taps, and when you're ready, you obviously pour a full beer. So yeah, sort of it's a self-serve sort of
crazy.
I think what we're trying to create is experiences. So
yeah,
at Warehouse Cinemas, our whole brand persona is all around the everyday hero, and we just always want to be that fun, approachable, but yet high quality. So everything we do, from the names to the menu to whatever, it's all about the experiences. And I think if we build those experiences, around the movie, I think the industry is going to be fine. I think if we show the movies and we do the turnstile approach, I think we might struggle.
From a marketing perspective and an exhibition perspective, just hearing you say all of this, what are some of maybe the tips you can give other exhibitors who might be listening, because you kind of have that unique experience, to draw more people in? And on top of that, I'd love to hear about an event that you guys are really excited about and you did a lot of work on that actually failed.
Yeah, let me insert one thing. Rich is also a board member of the ICA and head of the marketing committee.
So he already tells all of his tips to everybody.
So this is a perfect question, though.
Yeah.
Because Rich, you're the expert in this field, especially for the Independent Cinema Alliance Association. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, I think exhibitors will be listening, but also we have movie fans, and I think just marketing fans in general. People always just like, what have you learned that really makes a difference, and what have you seen that's failed that you thought was going to work?
Yeah, I'll start with the failures. We had this. I had this whole idea. I have to take credit because of the failure. To do a popcorn bar. So basically you have all these different seasons and like all these different flavors and stuff, but you went over with your popcorn and we mixed it up for you to create all these different flavors. And we didn't invest that much money in it, but I thought we were going to crush it because it was more experiences, unique. And at the end of the day, it was just a horrible idea that no one wanted anything different than the real butter and popcorn. No, I mean, what we really want to do at the ICA, I guess it is my role to just, I think exhibitors, especially the independent exhibitors, you want to train them to especially look at social media differently. I think, and it's tough because we've had lots of folks on the distribution side come on and talk about, what they can do to help, but it's hard for them because they're a small staff, in the case of whatever, Solstice or whatever, right? Like you want them to help, but they can't help everyone individually. So from the ICA's perspective, one of our pillars is education. So I think if exhibitors looked at social media as a networking event where people came together and had a conversation, they just didn't, and they cultivated relationships, right? They asked questions at the end of their post, or they framed it in a way that made it personable, all the things that we know as marketers. But it's hard, right? It's hard when you don't do that day in and day out. It's like my ultimate goal is to just get independent exhibitors to do that better, because I think the way they typically do it is, this movie is playing, come see it. This movie is playing, come see it. This movie is playing, come see it. And it's just not a conversation.
Yeah.
I always describe it as it's like being at a networking event, but just walking around the room and giving your business card, and then, going to the next person, and then you walk out the door. That's not social, right? So
no, it's a two-way conversation. I think a lot of people struggle with that. But I think from the exhibitor side, I understand it from the exhibitor side, though. Like if you're a 1 or 2, screen house and you have a GM and a couple employees, you just have so many things that you have to do, and it's just really hard, I think, to prioritize it. And Rich, I agree, that's part of the education. It's almost teaching them how to be the most efficient. Like, you don't have to sit on social all day, but maybe you have these kind of times, or someone on your staff that likes doing it, or you hire an awesome agency like Film Frog, but something like that helps them know that they don't it's not such a big overwhelming thing. I think people feel overwhelmed by it.
I think if there's one thing, just when you think about marketing, for example, it is social media, I think, because I think they being the independent exhibitors a lot of times think that the studios are going to do all the marketing for them. They're going to do the traditional stuff, whatever. But it's what they put out on social media is just going to be generic stuff that comes across their page. There is no personalization to it, and that's therefore not social. So I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet totally, but if I had a dream, it would be that independent exhibitors market themselves better on social media, because I think there's a lot of power and a way that they can promote that exact same movie that might be across town in a big circuit. They can actually get that customer because that customer now has a connection to that brand.
One of the main things too, I think, for exhibitors, if you're listening, and building your brand to differentiate yourself from other exhibitors does make a difference, because they may look at the show times on Google and see the 7 other competitors, but they say, you know what, I'm going to wait the extra 15 minutes because my experience at X is so much better than my experience at Y. And they did such a great job, and they're having this fun drink. And so I actually do want to go there. And that's my kind of like go-to default cinema. And I'm only going to go there. That's the biggest thing about building the brand. We know you can see Tenet probably anywhere and the graphics are going to look the same. But if you build that story that differentiates yourself, and you're part of the community, like what you said, Rich, with Warehouse, like that's such an important factor. And I think that gets lost in translation sometimes as well.
And I also think that by extension, you also need to deliver when they show up, right? So when that consumer shows up to the cinema, one of the things that we're talking a lot about and mapping out for our training is, while our brand persona is the everyday hero, and we have a specific voice in that regard, what we want our employees to know is what our brand promise is, which is essentially what we call is just save the day. So obviously similar to everyday hero, but save the day is what that when that person does show up, you've talked to them, you've cultivated that relationship online, they've made the decision to wait 15 minutes, come to your location. What are all the little things that the staff can do to save the day? And it's little things. It's like carrying the popcorn to the seat for the mom who has 3 kids in tow, right? Like it's all if they keep thinking that way, that's an extension of what you promised online, just fulfilled when they actually show up.
What's your favorite part about going to the movie theater? I mean, you own movie theaters, why?
So I think this is really philosophical. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be serious again. But
that's okay. We'll take it.
We're going to lighten you up somehow.
Yeah, shots. Next time we're going to do some shots.
So, yeah. No, I think cinemas are important for the community. I think we've been taking people through Warehouse Cinemas in Frederick through these tours, and we just bring 5 or 10 people through, and we show them a few trailers, and inevitably they just get up and they just say, I just miss going to the movies, because I think we're wired as humans to want interaction. And I think people are cooped up and they just want to go out, regardless if they know anyone in the auditorium. There's a moment in the movie where everyone sort of chuckles or laughs or whatever. That moment is community with the person that you're with, or the community at large. And I just don't think people talk about the shared experience, and we've talked about it forever, but there's just something about the moment when you're with others. I always use the example with Starbucks, right? You can get the same coffee, probably better internet, yet you go to a Starbucks and people are wired to their headphones working because they just want to get out of the house and be around other people while they work. And I think the same is for cinema. I think if Hollywood creates good content, and we as exhibitors deliver a good presentation, and wrap it with experiences, hopefully, and great social media and a great product and all that stuff. I think the younger generations especially will want to get out of the house and have that communal experience together. No, I think 2021 is going to be huge. I think the content is amazing. I think we're all a lot of people miss movie theaters and they don't even realize it yet. That's what I'm feeling in those tours I was talking about earlier. But I do think we have to step up our game. I think the exhibitors have to look hard at their business models about the stuff that may have gotten them to where they are today that may not get them to where they need to be in the next 5 years. So might be some tough love in that regard. And then social media, thinking about that differently. I think we talked about loyalty. I think data is going to be a big part of if we leverage that effectively. I think we can drive more people, improve lift, and increase moviegoing. I guess my final thought is I'm optimistic about next year. We're super scared and, all that stuff about all the industry headlines that we read. But I think we have an industry that's been around for a long time. And I think if we make good decisions on both ends of the equation, I think we'll be fine. So.
Agreed. Very well said. Thank you, Rich.
Well done. We will wrap that up. Rich, thank you so much for being our guest on At the Movies.